Okay, this is take 2 now. My computer died.
In the middle of a great story,
And a
too.
great story. We'll just sum up. Lyrica proposed to me out of love.
Yeah.
Over this, literally like 10 minutes ago.
Mm-hmm.
Before this. Probably longer, but Lyrica proposed to me. Oh, that means they won't hear your cough at the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
Dang it. Yeah, we were talking about, and my lost ring. That doesn't need to be discussed again. I don't want to talk about it. But because my ex wanted to propose to me, and then he instead dumped me, Lyrica bought me a ring instead. It's a moonstone with 2 sterling silver moons on the side of it, and then 3 diamonds on one, 3 diamonds on the other. Good. Done. I love it. I'm not going to take it to work because now I'm notorious for losing my rings at work. So it's going to stay. Oh, maybe I'll put it on a necklace. And then I'll just wear it at work. And people are like, oh, is it a promise ring? I'm like, yeah, I promise to have my roommate in my life forever.
Yeah.
This is the way that I have to stay in your life.
Yeah.
But
and we're going to have a wedding where the cats are ring bearers.
No, Goyani is a ring bearer. Ella's the angry flower girl.
Mm-hmm.
But we're going to wait until she's a lion with her cut. And then she's going to be the flower lion.
Yeah. So
just piss off about everything.
Big things to come.
Yep.
We'll do it on your birthday. There you go.
Oh,
That's how we celebrate your birthday.
We're drinking wine today. Cheap, delicious red wine.
We love it.
At least it stopped at the 5-minute mark and not the hour mark. I would have cried.
That's it for today.
Yep. That's all you guys are getting. But yeah, my computer died because the plugin wasn't. My computer can't. My computer has a horrible battery now, so it goes, I think 20 minutes and then it dies. Not even. I think that was 10 minutes. Yeah, 20 minutes and then it dies if it's not plugged in continuously. So I should get a replacement battery, but I'm also so lazy, and I think replacing the battery would be more expensive than buying a new computer, most likely, because this is an old model. Because I've had this for about 6-7 years. Yeah, since freshman year, which was about 6 years ago. So yeah, I also don't want to pay money for a new laptop.
I've had mine for 6 already.
You had it your sophomore year?
Yeah. Well, I had a laptop that I had for freshman year that I used all of my graduation money on because I needed a laptop, and it just all of a sudden went black and never turned back on. We took it to the computer store and they were like, yeah, it's fried. And I was like, sweet.
I wonder what you did.
I don't know. It just
Did you have virus? What is that called? The virus thing on your computer to make sure you're not getting viruses?
No.
Oh. Yeah, you should have gotten. You might have gotten a virus and then it was just fried.
Yeah, it was really sad because I was like, yeah, all my graduation money went to that. It lasted a year, and then that's when I got.
That has to be some type of virus or a defaulty computer.
That's when I got my first credit card because I couldn't afford a laptop.
Yeah. Laptops can be expensive.
Yeah, mine was
as long as you take care of them. I had a laptop before this for school and high school because we did sometimes stuff online and I needed to write my papers and such. So my mom got me a laptop, so how I put my laptop, I put it underneath my bed. But back in the day, I used to put it outside of my bed. I can't tell you how many times I woke up and I stepped on it. So the screen was completely shot, and it was like your laptop. It was big. So the screen was completely destroyed. And I took it to a computer shop. They said it would probably be cheaper just to buy a new one than to replace, because it was not only the screen, but the LED screen behind it. So it was those two. And then I think I fucked up the battery part of it too, because I stepped on it so much. So now I put it underneath my bed. So there's no way for me to step on it.
Mine goes in my backpack.
Every single time?
It just goes in my backpack when I'm done with it.
Oh, do you have your backpack by your bed? Yeah. That's probably why. Because your bed is right in the middle, so you can have things on the other side. Mine is not. Mm-hmm. So I only have one side, and that's the side I get out. And so I'm definitely going to be kicking that backpack. So I just put it underneath the bed because I don't really use my backpack all that much. And it's all the way across the room, and I don't want to get out of bed. Plus, it always needs to be plugged in because it will die during the night if it's not plugged in.
Yeah, mine will be fine. If I put it in sleep mode and just put it in my backpack, that's fine until I need it again. I picked a good laptop. I did so much research on it.
I didn't. I went to Best Buy with my mom. It was a graduation present. I went to Best Buy with my mom. I like Dell. They showed me all the Dell ones, and I said, "Does that have a touchscreen?" My mom said, "Yes," and I want that one. Because I used to be a big fanatic. My old one used to not be a touchscreen, so I would just use a mouse, but I used to do coloring pages.
Yeah.
And that was a way for me to like decompress. So when I got this one, I really wanted a touchscreen so I can just get a stylus and color that way. It was a lot easier. Man, it was easier. My mom spent like $100 on that stylus. It broke like in the first year, and she got so pissed off. So now I just buy universal ones that can go on any touchscreen for my phone and my laptop. Anyways, talked so long about laptops, but basically my laptop is dying, and I'm gonna keep it until it has no breath in it.
Yeah. But yeah, welcome back. Never even said that because we said it in the first time we recorded this.
Oh, welcome back. Oh yeah, I totally forgot I said welcome back. This is episode 4. It's already been a month, which is crazy. This time we're actually going to talk about a movie because now I can mentally do a movie.
One of my favorites. I'm so excited to talk about.
It was a really we're going to talk about Barbarian. The Barbarian. Is it The Barbarian or Barbarian?
You just go Barbarian.
Okay, Barbarian. Which I'm going to be honest, I was not excited about. Because you like horror movies, I do not like horror movies, so I was like, I'm not excited. Now, if you would have told me it's on the realm or in the same sphere as Malignant, then I would be like, okay, yeah, I'm down. But you didn't tell me. You did. That's I remember when we were first talking, when you first saw Barbarian, you were like, you're never going to watch it, right? And I was like, yeah. And you told me a spoiler of it, which, fun fact, horrible long-term memory. I am not good unless if I continuously practice it, like psychology. I cannot remember things. So when we were sitting down to watch it, she's like, "Do you remember any of it? Any of the things that I told you?" And I went, "I absolutely remember nothing. You told me something, can't remember anything." But overall, good movie. I actually kind of like. I liked it. It made me very uncomfortable for many reasons. Not only the filming type, like the directorial way of filming it, but also the characters.
Yeah.
Made me very uncomfortable. But before we actually get in, should I tell them my brainstorming?
Oh, yeah. So, spoilers, because
very big
these
spoilers.
Are going to be not right.
Except one. My last guess was right.
Yeah. Barbarian is a movie that you should go see and not know anything about. So,
if you want to watch it, don't listen to this.
Yeah.
Either listen to the past ones or wait, because it's very good. And I now see why you were like, I want to watch you watch it.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, okay, that makes a lot more sense, because if you don't know what the fuck is going on.
And that's the fun of it. And I like to watch people be like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
Or I just like look over and be like, yeah.
I definitely want to watch it to see if I missed anything. I don't think I did. I think it's a good one watch and you kind of understand what's going on because they kind of put the explanation right in your face. But
Don't do it.
Yeah, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 guesses throughout the movie that I was trying to figure out what the plot was. This is your official. Now, this is your final official spoiler warning. If you want to watch it, don't listen to this because I'm going to spoil it. Haha. I had 5 guesses. The last one was correct, but all of these were not. My first guess was he was Keith.
Yeah, played by Bill Skarsgård.
Yeah, Keith. Bill Skarsgård. So at the beginning, I thought Keith owned the house, or he was just plain icky because he's kind of icky at the beginning.
Yeah. Then we should probably explain, like, just in case they don't want to watch the movie.
Oh yeah, the concept.
It's about real quick.
Shit, I just want to go straight into it.
Because then they'll have no idea. They'll be like, okay, Keith owns a house. Like, why do I give a shit?
Yes. Go do the abstract.
Yeah, so Barbarian came out in 2020. 22, one of the best years for horror films. And essentially, like, the thing that you'll see, like, plot-wise, like, listed everywhere is that a woman checks into her Airbnb, but there's a guy already staying there, and it's, like, a really weird situation, and weird things start happening while she's there and trying to figure out her Airbnb situation, but they leave the viewer guessing as to what that means. Like, is it Keith who is the bad guy here? Because you go in knowing it's a horror film, so you know there's going to be something wrong. But, like, even the trailer didn't really give away a lot, so you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And so...
Keith is I don't know if you said, Keith is the guy who's staying there.
Yeah, so Keith is the guy who's already there, played by Bill Skarsgård.
By the way, the main girl, her name is Tess. So,
yes, so that's going to be fun.
We are one and the same, but she's a lot dumber than I would. Just saying.
Yeah, so essentially that's like the kind of vague plot line that you'll see on plot descriptions and stuff like that. So
my guesses.
So she's trying to guess what was happening.
So the first thing I thought was Keith owned the house. Or he's just playing Nikki, because he was very uncomfortable. And then I said Keith is a horny ghost. Lyrica's laughing into her wine cup. I thought he was just a horny ghost. He just wanted to fuck her, but he was a ghost. And I was like, ghost pregnancy. That would be hilarious. It's a new way of saying phantom pregnancy now. Then I thought, this is in quotation marks because you can't see, monster, the barbarian. Don't look at my notes. Barbarian. I thought Keith owned the barbarian or the quote unquote monster. I'll talk more about that. We'll talk more about that. Or there were brothers, or that Keith was its dad. I was wrong. My fourth one, which I thought they should have done, that would have been such a big twist, was it was all fake, or like a movie, or like a documentary or something. That was a weird way to say that.
Documentary.
Documentary. Documentary. I was thoroughly convinced because of a tonal shift through it. Yes, I know. Viral protection. I got it. I was wrong. And the last and final guess that I was correct was the barbarian was an incest baby. Correct. It was an incest baby. I got that halfway through the movie. I was like, I knew it.
I got the coughs.
You can cough. I'm not cutting it out.
Allergic to wine.
No, you might have went down the wrong pipe. Should I read your notes? She wrote a lot of notes. How many pages? 2?
2.5.
2.5.
One of my notes too started out with Tess, and I thought I was talking about you for a second. I was like, Tess has more compassion, and I was like, what? And I was like, oh, the movie.
You know what makes me really upset right now?
Oh.
That you wrote on a separate piece of paper instead of the back of this. I would.
It bleeds through. It would bleed through.
Stop writing so hard. Then it won't bleed through.
The pen, because the pen is a gel pen, which is my favorite.
I need to test this out.
You can still see it right there.
Oh, one little line.
Imagine though,
because I pressed hard.
I write, it would look insane.
Yeah.
I'd not be able to read it.
Don't use a gel pen then. You're killing tree. Well, you recycle. Never mind.
But I did take a lot of notes because I've seen this movie 4 times now.
No, way more.
No, 4 times. It's only been 4 times.
Oh, I thought you told me like at least 2 or 3 times that I'm watching it now. I'm rewatching Barbarian because you watched it at work. I remember that.
That's Bodies. I keep rewatching that one because now I own it.
Should that one be our next one?
Yeah.
Okay.
I love Bodies.
That could be our next
streak of movies I love.
Yeah,
I took a lot of notes because I find this movie very intriguing, and I also re-listened to the Dead Meat podcast today of their take on Barbarian. Not to like steal their ideas, but like to refresh me on like some of the points that I wanted to talk about too. since I just watched it Monday, I wanted to make sure that I did a little refresh in my mind. And also, I just love the Dead Meat podcast. I love Barbarian, so it was like perfect.
Beautiful mixture of both. I kind of scared myself. I shouldn't have wrote hello on this. It was kind of freaky.
Hello.
Especially the way I wrote it.
It's me. There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
Less creepy.
I'm sure we should start off.
With an MG wine glass.
Are you gonna refill?
Yeah. It just tastes like juice. It's delicious.
If you want to know what we're drinking, she gave me a little glass. It's Stella Rose.
Stella Rosa.
It's the one with the white/cream label on it. Hey. Oh, you spilled.
Oh, not a wine connoisseur.
You're supposed to hold it at an angle.
All is fine.
She's already wine drunk, apparently.
All is good. I don't know. I just can't fucking
look it up
for shit.
Yeah, look it up now. So, how did we say? Oh, you said you were going to start with wine. How do we go into wine? More wine.
No.
How do we segue into this?
You're saying we just talk about the beginning.
Beginning?
Okay. It's going to be easiest, I think, because of how interesting
the
narrative plot is to generally talk, through the plot, and then we can have broader conversations.
Yeah,
stemming off of that. So.
Can I just start off? Keith, freaky. At first, he was really freaky. Because he was just really uncomfortable, and I thought maybe he was just kind of just socially inept. Well, first I thought he was a murderer. And then I thought, okay, maybe he's just really socially inept and he doesn't really know how to communicate with a woman, especially a woman he is interested in. Just put tissues down and use that as a coaster so then it doesn't make noise. Okay. I'm putting mine on my notepad. But I think having it at an Airbnb is freaky anyways. Airbnbs scare me because what if there's cameras? So just even starting off, I felt uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Going to an Airbnb. And not only that, but sharing it with a fucking stranger, especially a male. No offense. Yeah. They do mention that in there.
I would not do that. Which, you know what starts the movie out that's unsettling that you don't catch until you rewatch is the beginning. When she pulls up, you hear a swell of noises and it sounds like yelling.
Was that the Barbarian?
No, it was the victims of the man, who we'll get into later, of all the women that he's kidnapped.
So it was ghostly. Well, ghostly screams?
No, it's not meant to be supernatural in that way. It's meant to be more a moody kind of thing where the filmmakers did it on purpose, but she doesn't actually.
So it's for the audience and not for the audience to rewatch it and then they realize it.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I thought it was just, thinking back about it, I thought it was maybe the guy screaming, the homeless guy screaming because there was somebody coming. Or it was the Barbarian screaming.
It's a chorus of women screaming.
Okay, that makes more sense.
So you immediately know, on a rewatch, you're we already know there's something bad going on in this Airbnb, even though once you first watch it, you don't know what bad thing is going on, so that noise doesn't make sense. So.
I also really liked how they started off in the dark, because then you don't see any of the houses and what they look like, but then in the daytime, you obviously, see all of these houses are so broken down and gross, and this one is it's still not the best shape, but it's still good, especially on the inside. It looks nice. It looks presentable. But you go out and then it's all of these abandoned homes, basically. Graffiti, trash, outgrown, everything. And then there's this picturesque home. I really liked how it started off with it being dark and you don't realize that until it's the next day.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
It is a very interesting setup too, because essentially, Tess, the main character, not Tess, my co-host here.
Okay, we'll just say Tessa for me today, Tess for her. Yeah. So then it's easier.
Tess shows up and yeah, like she's been checking into this Airbnb, and the Airbnb code, like to get the lockbox isn't opening.
I think she got the wrong code.
Yeah.
And then she looked back, and then there was a different code.
Yeah, so then she tried it, and then there was no key, and she was like, what is going on here? And calls the Airbnb people. Nobody answers, and so she's about to, like, leave in frustration. Sees the light come on in the Airbnb and goes, that's a little strange. And so she goes up and, like, I don't know if she knocks on the door or whatever, but
I think he opens the door.
a guy, like, answers, and she's like, whoa, like, this is my Airbnb. And he's like, no, like, I booked this Airbnb on a different app.
Mm-hmm.
And so some confusion ensues, and so she ends up coming in, due to, like, him being really, like, adamant about this is not a good area, like, don't go sit out in your car, like, we can figure this out, like, in the house.
And we're thinking, like, he's being weird, but honestly, it's true. It's not a good house area because you don't see it because it's nighttime. So that's why she was kind of standoffish, being like, I'll just sleep in my car. And he's like,
no, don't
trust me.
Because he knows better than him.
Yeah, so the audience kind of feels like, okay, he's being really pushy, but in reality, it's like, no, the reality of the situation, it's a bad neighborhood.
Yeah. Which also, there's a commentary on Keith because he's, like, trying to be pretty, like, chivalrous, but his, like, chivalry also comes off a little bit pushy. So you're not sure, like, whether or not he is a good person. Like, it's just a really weird situation.
Mm-hmm. And also having Bill Skarsgård.
Oh, yeah. Having Bill Skarsgård. Because a lot of people know him as Pennywise. So, like, you immediately, like, see him, and if you know that, you're like, oh, well, he plays a villain, like a really creepy person in another, well, not person, monster in another movie. And he's also a weird-looking guy anyways. Like, he has something about him where he looks a little off, but, like, he's still attractive.
Mm-hmm. This isn't a diss to you because we both think you're very attractive, by the way, Bill. Your name could change, but...
Which, fun fact, which is not related to the movie. I knew Bill Skarsgård before it because he was in this Netflix show called Hemlock Grove that I watched. Yeah. It was a movie or a TV show about vampires and werewolves, but things got Spoiler.
Did you stop watching it?
No, I watched like 2 seasons, and then I didn't watch the 3rd one when it got canceled. But spoiler alert for that show. But there's this entire storyline of his cousin is pregnant, and he, like, nobody knows why. And she, like, blacked it out, and she's like, oh, it must be Jesus, baby.
I feel like it's something more.
You find out that, no, that's not the case. Him, like, Bill Skarsgård's character, raped his cousin, and she got pregnant with his child. And she blacked it out because of trauma.
He plays another creepy, horrible character.
But also, he's one of the main characters in that show.
Why would we want to root for him?
His name is Roman in that show.
Yeah. Well, his name is stupid.
So, that was my first experience with Bill Skarsgård. So I've had that and him being Pennywise, so I'm like...
I think it might be just conditioning. We're so used to him being creepy characters, so we're thinking he's going to be a bad character. Mm-hmm. So great casting.
Yeah. So great.
And he just plays creepy very well.
Yeah.
His acting, not his face. Well, he has like the uncanny. What is that? Like, it's like the uncanny something. I can't remember. Where something looks really, really like realistic, but something's off.
Yeah.
Like somebody's eyes are a little too big.
Yeah, like uncanny. So, yeah, so good casting with him, because then you, like, automatically kind of don't trust Keith, and his, like, in retrospect, you see that he's actually being, like, pretty chivalrous. Yeah,
just kind of socially weird.
Yeah, he's just a little, like,
just a little off.
Awkward, and so when you're watching the movie, you don't know if you can trust Keith.
Mm-hmm.
And also, as an audience, you know this is a horror movie, so, like, you're like, what is gonna happen.
Before I knew he wasn't the villain, I thought he was doing a lot of love bombing. Because if he was the villain, I was going to keep this. I crossed it out because I was like, okay, well, he's not involved at least. I was like, well, he's like really trying to make a connection with her. I think I said Keith connecting with Tess as much as possible. Like she made a comment, and then he made a comment, and they like it was a really like far off way to connect it and everything. So it kind of felt like love bombing and trying to make a connection. But obviously he's not a bad guy, so it's probably not love bombing. It's probably just he doesn't know how to socialize with women. Maybe just not as much.
That's what I've seen a lot of people see him as more like an awkward guy who he's trying his best to be chivalrous, and like that's how he grew up. And he's like, oh, like you have the bed, like I'll take the couch. You have all the blankets, I'll be fine. And like he's trying to be very gentlemanly.
Sorry, go ahead.
But he's also he does it in a way that's a little bit awkward and then off-putting. So as the audience you're watching and you're like one instance, when she's sitting there and like she decides to stay, and he was like, oh, do you want some tea? I can make you a tea. And she's like, no, like I'm good, I don't want tea. And he makes it for her anyways, and like so that seems off-putting.
And she doesn't want to drink it because she didn't see him make it.
Yeah, but in retrospect, like he did that to be nice, and then later on he brings out a wine bottle and he goes, "Oh, like I know you didn't drink the tea because of course, like you don't know me. Like I thought maybe I would keep the wine bottle sealed so you could see me open it if you want some." So
which is a really. Looking at it, I thought it was creepy because he was just sitting there and waiting for her. A little weird. But, like, looking back on it, damn, I would want a man to do that.
Yeah.
Not take any offense to it. Now looking back, like, that's such a... It's a guy that... Every guy should be like that in retrospect. But it's a nice thing for a man not to be upset about it.
Yeah.
And do it out of the comfort of showing.
Yeah, exactly.
At the comfort of the woman.
Yeah.
So looking back now, I'm like, man, I would want a man to do that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want a man to be offended because I am a woman in the 21st century.
Yeah, it's interesting to look back at Keith because one of the things that I also like about this movie is it's looking at the viewpoint of how women go through life compared to how men go through life and how different those experiences are. Like us as women, we're taught to be wary of our surroundings,
vigilant about our drinks.
Yeah, vigilant about our drinks, like making sure you're not putting yourself in dangerous situations. You're also not supposed to be very like outspoken because that could be seen as bad too, but also not too friendly because if you're too friendly then
you're leading them on.
Yeah, so like you kind of see in this first part, like the movie kind of seems like three kind of parts a little bit, and you got three different men within the movie, but Keith is like the like best guy in the movie.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
So it's like a spectrum of like the worst guy who we meet later. Then you have another guy who's also equally as bad, but bad in a different way, but it does this thing where it's trying to show you that, I guess I'll just talk about it. Justin Long's character, he doesn't have to go to the extreme of who we find out is the actual Barbarian to be a bad guy. But then you have Keith, and he's actually, when, like, the wine scene, he's trying to think of how Tess is viewing things. So he's actually, like, you know, like you said, not being offended that she didn't drink the tea. Like, he's trying to understand where she's coming from and is also waiting to see what she says. Because another scene is after they make the bed, and he kind of stands there and it's a little bit awkward, but he's waiting to see if she'll, like, initiate, and then she doesn't, and he goes, okay,
I'll go lay on the couch.
He's like, good night.
And it's so interesting. That reminded me of, like, it's interesting that the nicest character is deemed the most wary at the beginning because you're very like standoffish about him.
Yeah.
But then Justin Long's AJ, who is not the extreme, but not a good guy. He's almost, I don't want to say he's seen as a sympathetic character because he's not a sympathetic character. But you don't see the same wariness as you do with the good guy.
Yeah.
I find that very interesting. And then like the far bad of the bad,
yeah.
You don't see him as good at all. There's nothing there. I do think the dynamic between the good Keith, the good guy, and the good guy, not the like good quotation good guy, but like the actual like good guy, is deemed scary at the beginning. But AJ's character, he's deemed not scary until the end. So it's kind of like an opposite.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. I didn't even think about that until you mentioned.
I think there's something to be said as well about how
I hate him. Obviously, I hate the Barbarian, but I fucking hate him too.
But yeah, how women were like taught to just in general be afraid of men because like it's not for nothing. Like shit happens more to women than it does to men, so we're
in these cases. In
like,
some cases stuff happens.
Yeah.
To men. But in gendered crimes.
Yeah.
It's mostly aimed towards women.
So like of course she's gonna be wary of Keith and she locks doors and she takes a picture of his license and I'm like, these are things that like I've experienced, like just being like I need to make sure like you know, like you go on a date, you have identification of the person.
Lyrica sends me picture, name, where they're going, height, everything.
Yeah.
Weight, if you can get weight to them.
Yeah, making sure like that you'll be safe, which you see Tess doing. And turns out Keith is not a bad guy. He's just a little awkward.
I was hoping he would come back. He gets obliterated, by the way.
Yeah, I really like Keith.
I was hoping it was a fake character and he would come back and everything was fine. He gets his domed shit face.
Yeah.
I won't say how, so that's a surprise, or when. But he did.
Yeah.
He did.
Keith is very
dead.
Interesting. And he's very dead now. Yeah, so it's interesting to see him like be the guy who's actually reflective on like seeing what Tess wants. Like at first he's a little bit overbearing, and I think that comes from him trying to be chivalrous, but he doesn't know how to go about it. So
and that could just be ambiguous because he doesn't know what kind of woman Tess is.
Yeah.
If she's somebody who can succumb very easily or not. He's more like better be safe than not, and just really like reiterate it's not safe, don't do it. Or maybe he thinks like maybe she's a little naive. Maybe she just needs a little, and from the viewer's perspective, yeah, it's fucking creepy. But at the same time, if I was in that situation, of course I would be standoffish. I probably wouldn't have been easy to succumb like she did. Like be like, okay, yeah, I'll stay there. I think I would go outside and physically see my surroundings with like a flashlight to really deem it, or go on Google and see like crime rates and see if it is okay for me to sleep in my car. Yeah. She kind of gave in really fast. I was like, this dumb bitch.
Yeah. Which also I was thinking, even though Keith is like the best guy in the film, he still like has his moments just because that's his gendered experience. Like, once they like start to like warm up to each other, she brings up like, if I was in your position and you knocked on my door, I would not let you in. Like, you probably didn't think twice about me coming in because you're a man. He's taller than her and looks a little bit, you know, more physically fit than her. Well, he's like a bigger guy.
He's big.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's super strong. I could kick him in the dick and he's fine.
Kind of, but like she's kind of petite, so it's already kind of like.
Are you calling me not petite? I could take him.
But like he doesn't view the same kind of like danger as Tess as a woman does,
which is very true because we said at this. I don't know if you said it, but I said, "Oh yeah, I would be the same way," and I bet you would be the same way If a guy knocked on my door saying it was his Airbnb, I would be like, go find a hotel.
I probably like would just pretend like it wasn't even there. Like, like, nope, I'm not answering that door. If there's a peephole,
lock the door.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't even go to the door. Lock my bedroom door and be like, they'll leave. Hopefully.
Yeah. So like, even though he's trying his best, he's still, because of how he walks through life as a man, his experience is different than what Tesses would be. And then jumping forward a little bit, when we finally find out what weird thing is going on, well, a little bit, because they kind of keep the info from you for a while. But also, quick, like, sidebar, the Dead Meat podcast was like, I want to see like a rom-com between Keith and Tess, and I was like, me too, because they were trying to be real cute.
That would have been fun.
So
but he's dead, so we can't.
Keith. Yeah, jumping forward, she comes back for this interview, which is why she was in town, and Keith is gone, and she needs toilet paper, so she goes to the basement.
Dumb.
Which, honestly, I would never even go into a basement of a place I've never been in, because just already I don't like basements. They freak me out. They're scary. They're usually dark.
And this shit happens. Don't do it.
I'm not going down in a basement.
If I see toilet paper, use the shower.
Yeah, so...
If I see toilet paper down in the basement, shower right there. Yeah. Just jump in.
So she goes down into the basement, and then she gets locked in because the door closes. And at this time, you still don't know what's going on. So you're like, ghost? Well, I totally skipped over the scene with her at night.
Well, the door was open. Keith didn't open it. It was very confusing. Done.
Which was a little part, because Keith, like, was having a night terror. And
did we ever figure out what he was having a night terror for?
I think he just has night terrors. Like, I don't think there's anything super, like...
It was just a creepy factor even on top.
Yeah, and so she goes to bed, and her door gets open, and she goes to Keith, and it's like, did you open my door? And she hears this really weird noise, too, that sounds like a sucking noise. And, so she goes to Keith and, like, freaks him out because he's having a night terror, and he's, like, she's like, did you open my door? And he's like, no, like, he doesn't, at that moment, which, I guess he's a little bit, like,
he also woke up from a horrible dream that he was having. So, I mean, like, that I didn't take too much offense, because even when I'm not having a dream, if you would wake me up, I would get pissed off. Yeah. I'd be like, get out of my room.
But it was just, like, her being like, you were making weird noises. He's like, what? And, like, just really perplexed. Yeah, in that case, it was a little bit like, yeah, he was, like, really... like, freaked out, too, because you woke him up, and you're, like, standing over the top of him, and, like...
saying that you opened her door, and like, what?
But, yeah, so that's a little, like, thing. But she goes to her interview, everything's fine until she gets locked in this basement. So you don't know if it's supernatural or not. She's just chilling down there, no phone, which I would get so bored. And so then she finds a string in the wall, and it opens up like a secret door, and it has this hallway that leads to this really disturbing room. Well, she doesn't go in there at first until some time passes, and then...
because she noped. She went,
yeah. And so curiosity got the best of her, and this room is really disgusting. It's got just a mattress. It's
blood.
It's
all
bloody.
Over it.
It's gross. It's dirty. There's a handprint on the wall. There's a camera pointing right at the bed and a bucket.
What was the bucket for?
I'm assuming bathroom stuff, throwing up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Fun.
And so eventually Keith returns, and he's just like kind of funny about it. Like, what the fuck are you doing down there? You're crazy. She's like all freaked out. And so he ends up getting her out, and she's just immediately like, there's something wrong going on here. Like, I gotta leave. Like, this is awful. Like, something bad has happened here. And Keith, being the male that he is, no offense, Keith,
he didn't believe her.
He didn't believe her. He was just like, what?
Let me go look.
Which, like, she's visibly upset. Like, she wouldn't be upset about, like, that for nothing. Like, she's seen something that's disturbed her, And again, it goes back to the thing of like, if Tess had opened the door, she wouldn't let Keith in.
Mhm.
But when Tess showed up, he was like, like he doesn't feel that dangerous. I think also in that exchange, she's like, men just, or I don't want to generalize to everybody because there is like a specific like gendered, like I always say it's the cis hetero like white middle class man who's usually, or to upper class is usually the one with the most privilege when it comes to things. Even though men typically like don't have as great of a fear of SA as we do. Is that correct in saying that?
Yeah, I would say, like, for example, when people go out on a date, straight people go on a date, men are worried that they aren't either going to get lucky, they're stuck with the bill, or there won't be a connection, while women are scared of being kidnapped, raped, or murdered. Those are the big things. So there is a gender difference that women have more fear of bodily harm than men do.
Yeah.
When with another straight person they're with.
Yeah.
Whether it's, now I don't know about gay and I don't know about lesbian or bi relationships. So that might be, and on top transgender, transsexual, like those, we don't really know too much about those, but a lot of those are more towards getting hate crimes in the way of their sexuality or being transgender.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would say most women fear of those kind of dangers. Well, men typically don't, or like even walking on the street.
Yeah.
I know men who walk on the street, and I'm like, it is pitch black. What are you doing? When I was in college, this has to do with it. When I was in college, Luciano, my best friend, he would walk me to my dorm if I was hanging out with him all the way across, because he lived in a dorm across campus. He would walk me all the way back, and then he would walk by himself. Yeah. Or if I absolutely had to walk by myself, he gave me a knife. He's like, and it was one of those curved knives. So those ones are like one of the most dangerous because of the curve. You can actually like really kill someone if you hit someone correctly with it. So in those times he would, or like if I had class, he would meet me. And this is when we weren't dating. He would meet me at my the place that I was having class in. He would meet me and walk me all the way. Because he's like, especially on a college campus, no. You're not walking by yourself.
Experience.
Well, he had no worries.
Yeah, so
he was like, I'm scared I'm gonna get mugged, but like.
Yeah, so Tess mentions like men can kind of barrel through life, and the fact that like they don't have to be as cautious in like those circumstances, like walking down the street when it's dark. Like women, we don't do that, and if we do, we got keys in between our knuckles. We got pepper spray. We
knives.
Yeah, any kind of like
some people have pistols in their purses, like mini pistols.
Which reminds me of a thing that I forgot to mention is when she gets back from her interview, there's just a man like running and sprinting after her, and in my mind, I'm like, I've felt those feelings before, even though I've never had a man like sprint and like run at me. I've had that experience of like getting out of my car when it's dark and seeing a guy start walking like near me, and just the immediate like fear of like I gotta like move quickly, and so like her fear in that situation, like that is like something I can relate to. I've never had a man running full sprint
and yelling,
"Little girl, don't go in there!" But like honestly, in that circumstance, like I'm freaking out. I'm like Tess, like I'm having a heart attack. So yeah, men can like.
Well, some men don't feel fear in that situation. Some might. I don't know, but some might feel fear in that situation. But I would say most or all women would feel scared in that situation.
I was like, my heart was pounding. Like every time I see that scene, it's still like
it was freaking me out,
terrifying, because that's something that could like actually happen to me. You out there.
Just walking on the street and somebody just walking behind me or in front of me.
It terrifies me. Like any guy I see, like doesn't matter. Like he's tall, he's short, like
He's small, he's big.
It doesn't matter. Like, I'm afraid of all of you guys if I'm walking into Stark. Like, no.
And people say there isn't a problem.
Yeah. Exactly. So that's why, like, Tess says those things, and then Keith doesn't believe her, and he just goes barreling into something that she said that she was super afraid of. And, like, he's also disbelieving, like, what she's saying. He's like, what? A bed and a bucket? Like, there's stuff down there. It's a basement. Like, and she's like, no. And I feel like she also at that time probably had some intuition as a female, too, knowing that, like,
something's not right.
Something's not right here.
Yeah, immediately if I saw that, I would think bad things are happening in this, and it's not good. Get out.
So you think, like, Keith should have just believed her. You two could have left.
Yeah, could have been happy. Could have gotten that rom-com.
We could have just left Justin Long to show up, because he would show up either way, no matter what.
Yeah, and he would die.
Yeah, so, yeah, I think there's a lot to be said about Keith as our first, like, male character, and how we get to see him interact with Tess, and how we get to see Tess interact with him.
Yeah. We'll just move on to, because, so Keith goes down there, there's a second room that goes down deeper, it's like tunnels, he gets his shit rocked, he's dead. I'm fast forwarding to going on to AJ. It cuts.
Oh, yeah. Well,
so abruptly.
We do get to see what, like, we think is gonna be the Barbarian in this instance, because Tess goes down into the darkness. Keith comes crawling out. Like, Keith, you're fucking creepy doing that. Why are you crawling? Stand, my guy.
And also, question. He came from that place, and he was like, no, we gotta go back to the place that I crawled from. Well, she's like, literally, the exit's right there. I came from it. And he was like, no, this way. And it's like, bitch, you just crawled from that way, and you're saying there's something there. Why would we go back towards it?
That thought process there, I was like, Keith, what are you talking about? But I'm guessing maybe she went to, like, the Barbarian, or who we think the Barbarian is at this time. Maybe she was walking towards the light or the open door, and so, but I don't know how.
I think maybe that's nothing. I think, in all honesty, I think it was a plot device to make them stay in that one spot and long enough for him to get his head bashed in.
I also do wonder why she bit him, because that doesn't seem like a thing she would do. What we learn about her.
Maybe she would have. I bit my mom and she bit me back. So, I mean, like, maybe because he was being rowdy, she thought maybe that was a thing to do.
Yeah.
But anyways, that happens, cut. We're almost at an hour right now, so that's why I'm gonna get to the other part. Fucking AJ. AJ's driving. He gets cut from a show.
Played by Justin Long.
Yep.
Love Justin Long. Don't love his character, but he did a really good job.
He played a fantastic asshole.
A comedic, like, comedy release, but also an asshole.
Yeah, he played both sides very well. Comedy, but also I want to punch his face in.
Yeah.
But cut to him, he gets kicked out of a show because he gets a SA allegation.
And
at that point, allegation.
His response to that as well kind of tips you off, because he doesn't even, like...
He gets angry, like, he keeps calling her a fucking bitch and everything.
Yeah, and it's like...
And I get... Well, here's the thing. Coming from the other side, like, I get it if it was a false allegation. Like, yeah, I would understand that anger, being like, my life is being ruined because it didn't actually happen. But in this case, it did happen.
Yeah.
And we know it happened.
Well, what's interesting, though, about that interaction is he's, like, still driving when that happens, but it's when they tell him that he's kicked off the show is when he pulls over. Like, he
gets angry then.
He didn't see the allegation. He was more, or, like, as serious, like, oh, maybe this is something that, like, if it's not true, like, I should really, like, figure out what happened. He doesn't think about that. He just goes, like, he's angry, but then he gets told he's kicked off the show, and then that's when he stops driving. Like,
that's when he gets insanely angry.
It's whatever impacts him the most is the thing that he cares about the most.
Can I tell you why is that?
He's a narcissist.
He has narcissistic personality disorder, and guess what? I have brought my DSM-5 to diagnose this bitch. I can't diagnose, but we're gonna just check off the list of things, and we're gonna say if he. Well, first I'll explain. He in a bar scene, he's talking to somebody. Is it his friend?
His friend, which is played by the director of the movie.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, and a thing that happens, right before that, which is also red flag, is it's the same friend that goes to the bar and he answers it by saying, "What's up, F word," like slur.
Oh, yeah.
Gay people, and you're like,
well, you're not nice.
Yeah, already I feel like this man probably, he did it because anyone that's like calling a straight friend the S slur and thinking that's okay to do, he probably thinks some other things.
We're actually gonna do the DSM at the end once we get all of his personality out there, because then it'll make sense why we're checking things off.
Yeah.
So, but yes, I believe he has a narcissistic personality disorder.
That's what I was gonna say.
But I don't think it's tendencies, because you can be narcissistic but not have narcissistic personality disorder, because everyone has a type of narcissism in them where they care about what they look when they go out, or they care about how they present themselves, or when they're thinking about options, they think about only themselves in certain circumstances. What's best for them personally and not others. And that's normal. Having that type of narcissism is normal and okay. It's when it goes to the extremes, like AJ, it becomes now a personality disorder. And we'll go into the checklist and we'll see if he actually is one. But yeah, in the bar scene, he's talking to his friend, the director, about the allegations, in quotation marks, because they're actually true. He was like, well, I didn't like hold her down. I didn't threaten her. I didn't force it on her. But, it took some convincing.
Yeah.
And this is what I call the rapist mentality. And it's the ones that are the people who don't think that, sorry, let me flip those words. People that think that rape is only done through threat, through force, or through the threat of violence. Not just threatening, but the threat of violence too on top of that. It's the people that hide behind convincing, or they know that the other person feels uncomfortable and they don't really want to do it, or people who purposely don't hear.
Yeah.
No, people like that don't think they are a rapist or they didn't do sexual assault on someone. And this can be towards any gender, by the way. It's not just men, it's not just females. It's everyone can have this mentality. And it's those people who I think are the true danger, because I don't think they truly understand that saying no and fighting back are the only things that happen. People don't also, going into the world of consent, people also need to realize silence also might be a no.
Yeah.
And to me, it's extremely attractive if a man or a woman or anyone literally says, "Are you sure? Are you okay? Is this okay?" Like that, oh my God, they're 100 times hotter in my head. I go, yes. But like in some cases, people think that convincing or them saying, "I don't really know," is still an open door.
Yeah.
It is not an open door. That is a closed door. You do not have the keys. You do not open it.
Yeah.
It's not until you get a solid yes or initiation. But if a woman or a man initiates something, but they don't want to go all the way, it's still not a door to go.
Yeah.
It's just like, I just want to do a little bit of hanky-panky. I don't really want to go all the way.
Yeah.
Then do that. Go in the bathroom, take a cold shower, or do it in the toilet. I don't know. But
yeah, which within this conversation, like you see all those things. Also, trigger warning for any essay and.
Well, we mentioned that before when I said sexual assault
we'll talk
allegations.
Some more about
the more is a lot more intense. This one is more. I don't want to say non-intense, but there's no threat, there's no force.
Yeah.
With violence, there's not like that. But in the future, we'll mention a big one for that one.
Yeah.
Because that is like hardcore. more.
Yeah, which
Bad.
can be uncomfortable. Just as a warning.
So this one is just more, he doesn't realize that saying I don't know or silence or not saying yes or a woman initiate or a man initiating fully he doesn't see that as sexual assault.
Yeah, he doesn't think that he did anything wrong, and he tells his friend, he goes, no, you know how I am? I'm just, like, a really persistent guy. Like, I just go for things, that I like.
That gave me, like, chills when I heard that. I was like, ew.
Just thinks, like, oh, she was just, like, hard to get, but, like, I convinced her. And, like, the way that he explains the story...
It's kind of like a badge of honor.
Yeah, and to his, like, saying to his friend was like, well, did she say no? And he was like, well, yeah, at first, but, like, then I just, like, kept, like, being persistent, and we just, like, fooled around, and then she seemed really into it, and it's, like, she never gave that, like, consent, and also, like, he just thought, oh, yeah, like, that was totally fine, like,
yeah,
even though in that situation, because she doesn't come out, like, she wouldn't come out with that allegation if she didn't see that's how it happened. She would be like, oh, like, it doesn't matter, like, we had consensual sex. Even though it technically wasn't, but if she, in the end, was like, oh, I changed my mind. And, like,
and she was like, it was my choice, I did want to.
Which she
at that time
didn't, and so... He sees that as like, oh, like, she just ended up really being into it, and in actuality, she just did it to be like, well, he's not going to stop, like, feeling the pressure of, oh, I have to, because, well,
which was
what am I going to
really fucking triggering towards me, because I've had that happen to me, almost exactly the same situation, of saying no, and then feeling like I had to get out of the situation, so it was very fucking triggering to me. Being like, oh my fucking God, all this happening again. And it's such a sad reality because a lot of the time that's what usually happens. Of course, there's force and all that and threat and everything, but people don't understand, like, there's a lot of the time that's what happens too. And sometimes it even happens in marriages, in relationships, with one night stands and everything. So, like, people don't realize that's the big portion of sexual assault.
Yeah.
Is being convinced, feeling like they have to, and stuff like, kind of, I call it like the silent ones, because they're the ones that are not really talked about. We talk a lot about force, threat, and all that, but we don't talk about these ones in, like, this little weird silent corner. Yeah. So this really brought to light that does happen, and it does happen a lot, and bad men's reaction to that.
Yeah, which you mentioned it. He was like, I didn't, like, go, like, say, I'm gonna rape you. Yeah. Like, it wasn't...
He didn't do it by force.
Like, so he doesn't see what he did as wrong because he thinks, like, oh, I need to proclaim that I'm going to rape this woman right now and force her, and then that's the only rape there is. Which is,
and I think he also said, I didn't, like, I don't know what the weapon was, but he's like, I didn't hold a weapon to her and threaten her and stuff like that. And that's a sad reality that a lot of people do think that's what it is. And technically, by law standard, some places it is, but that's more aggravated. While sexual assault is anything that wasn't consensual, whether it was through silence, whether it was through no's, was pushing back. A lot of people look at that and be like, well, why didn't she push back? Well, some people, one, they don't feel physically like they can push it. So some people, how I did in my situation was, this man is stronger than me. So either I survive and I have some mental scars, or I fight back and I might lose my life. So I'm like, I will take the mental scars. I got therapy. I'll do that rather than possibly lose my life in that situation. So that's what a lot of women who are silent, that happens. And it's a way of protection in their own head and everything. So in that case, she probably did it as a protection towards her.
Yeah.
Because we know in the future, he seems like an aggressive person.
Yeah.
So maybe she thought he was going to be aggressive towards her. So she took the mental route of having some mental scars rather than having physical.
Yeah.
Or losing their life.
And then he also goes back and he drunk calls her and says, I'm not mad at you. Like, let me know if I did something to offend you. And it's like, you didn't. Well, like.
It made it sound like he said something bad about her mother.
Yeah, it's like, well, dude, like, it's not just like you insulted her. Like.
Yeah, you did something quite illegal.
And then he's like, but I forgive you, like, for your part in this. Like, thinking that, like, oh, it's just we just had a misunderstanding. Like, she just doesn't, like, understand where I'm coming from. And it's like, no.
It sounds like he thinks he's right.
Yeah, he's not
and
willing.
She's just acting out.
Yeah, not willing to see. And, yeah, so that happened. So we learned that allegation is true. And then if we look back at Keith, like, in the bedroom with Tess, like, he was, like, standing there and he doesn't say anything, he doesn't make a move, and there's some chemistry going between them, but then he waits to see what she's gonna say.
And she looks like she wants to.
Yeah.
But even though she looks like she wants to, he still doesn't pressure her, he doesn't do anything. He's just waiting for that okay or for her to kiss him or something. While on the flip side, the woman, do we know her name?
I think her name was Megan.
Megan Maddox. Megan and AJ. Megan obviously was saying no, and it's like the complete opposite where he kept pursuing. While Keith was waiting. And then you could tell like she was like she wants to, but then you kind of see it in her face like she doesn't want to anymore.
Yeah, and Keith takes that as okay, like have a good night.
I'll be on the couch.
Meanwhile, AJ, like, I think that also goes back to his narcissism. He only thinks about his pleasure, his viewpoint when it comes to things. So, in his mind, like, he's the correct one in the situation, and he doesn't understand, like, what he did wrong, and, like, thinking of the situation, like, they don't go into details, but I can imagine him being like, oh, like, she probably, like, eventually wants to, because, like, she's into it now, kind of into me, like, thinking more about, like, his satisfaction, his pleasure, what he feels is happening, how he's interpreting it, but he never, like, thought of the woman ever.
So a little fast forward. Just so we're getting everything.
Get to the funniest part, which also shows his narcissism, because he's got to liquidate his properties because he's going to be in legal trouble.
Lawyers. He needs lawyers.
He needs lawyers. And so he's going to sell this house. And when he shows up, he's like, what the fuck? There's stuff everywhere because, like, 2 weeks has passed and everything's the same in the house. And again, he doesn't think, like, oh, I wonder, like, why the people left their stuff here. He's like, what the fuck? Like, why are you in my place?
He thought it was squatters.
Do I have squatters? And it's like, you're not more concerned about it being like this. And clearly they have personal belongings, like toothbrushes, like
a laptop.
Like, you think that's a squatter and doing that? But he doesn't care about it. And so he just wants to list this house. And he finds the hidden basement that Keith and Tess found. And he just goes,
It smash cuts to him at, like, the table looking up, can secret basements be listed as square footage? And it was so funny. It made me laugh really hard because it was like, oh my God, this guy is just delusional. He sees the room with the bed and everything. He's measuring and shit. He finds the other secret that goes down even further. And he's just, oh shit!
Yeah.
So he starts measuring all that.
He's
not freaking out at all.
Yeah, no worries about anything.
He sits on the blood-soaked mattress while, like, doing calculations, and then he realizes it's bloody. He goes, oh, ew! And then gets up. We're like, my God. Sorry, I thought you were looking at something. I was like, is there a man? But so funny. And also we totally forgot another narcissistic thing. He goes into Tessa's stuff, finds her laptop to see who it belongs to. So he's trying to get into her laptop. He doesn't obviously know the password. So he takes it and just fucking chucks it. Just chucks it. Like at the table, like bedside table on the wall.
Like no thought about anyone's personal belongings. But it's supposed to be funny because this movie does have comedy. Like once AJ enters, even though AJ is horrible, he is the most comedic part of
He's the comedic relief, but he's also a really shit person. But oh my god, his narcissism is... It's so outrageous that it's funny.
That's funny, exactly.
Because you wouldn't think like a normal person would do this or think that way.
And it's not like him being funny, like his actions are the ones being played for laughs. Like he, like this awful person, of course, he's not gonna like see this bed. And also there's like dog cages that are bloodied, like the further in the basement tunnel you go.
The second.
And he starts measuring those too.
He's measuring the fucking cages. Like,
so,
dude!
He doesn't care about any of this. It's just, can I make profit off of this?
Yeah, that was funny. And then he starts measuring. There's a room with like a nursing, how to nurse a baby video going on, and it's like a pink room. And he's measuring that. Isn't he measuring that too?
No, he stands there and he's like, this is weird.
Gotcha. I thought he was measuring that too.
Which in all honesty is weird, like the setup. But he also looks like he's disgusted at breastfeeding, and it's like, bro, like it's breastfeeding. Yeah. Like,
he's like, it's good for pleasure, but it's not. He didn't say this, but you could tell. He's like, boobs are for pleasure, not
breastfeeding,
not for feeding babies.
And so that's when he's looking, and then his measuring tape gets yanked, and then we see, she actually gets billed as the mother. It's like her official name. We see her, and he runs and falls into a grate, and then that's when we find where Tess has been. She's been in this grate, and she's like,
it's a hole with a grate on top, like a gate thing. Yeah, it's not like a grate. It's like a big hole.
Yeah, and so we find Tess is fine, and then she says like, just do what she says. Like she wants
to be
her baby, and then we smash cut to the 80s, and we see this man driving around, and it's the house that they're currently in. Fun fact, the street name is Barbarian Street.
Oh, I did not catch that.
So they feeds into Barbarian, and so we see this man and we follow him around. He goes to the store, he gets plastic sheets because he's gonna do a home birth, and the lady there, like, she's so nice, but also like, ooh, that's kind of weird. Like that's how she kind of seems. Mm-hmm. Which I wrote down how the lady thought it was weird, but she kind of like,
it's your home birth, I don't care.
Yeah, and I think it also shows like she didn't want to make like a huge deal out of it. This is a little bit weird because another thing is like, as women, we're like, if we're a little bit too questioning or like a little bit too worried, then we're like seen as like kind of like
a target.
Why can't you just like chill out?
Oh yeah.
Why you gotta be like so like nagging or stuff like that? So
that's true.
That was just a quick aside, man. We find out that this guy, he pretends to be a
HVAC person.
Yeah, and then he unlocks a woman's window. And then
he follows the woman, by the way. Follows the woman from the supermarket to her home. Yeah. Then pretends, opens the window.
And so then we go back to the house, and his neighbors are like, we're leaving. And he like says very ominously, like, I'm never leaving here. So you're like, why are we seeing this guy?
When I saw that, I thought he could have been maybe the mother and just had really sad. I was thinking maybe he's the mom.
Yeah. By the way, she's naked the entire movie, saggy boobs.
Very saggy. And I already told you incest baby, but because she's underground for the majority of her life, she has very thick skin, veiny gray, because you never really see the sun because she only comes out at night. She doesn't have hair, really much hair.
It's like
anywhere.
Patchy.
And it's patchy on her head, but like really anywhere else she doesn't have much hair. Her nails are really brittle. You could tell how brittle her nails are. Her teeth are all jacked up. And her facial structure is a little asymmetrical. Some facial deformities.
Kind of bigger head too, and like sallow cheeks. And she doesn't communicate. The only things that she says is like baby,
or baby talk.
She's Baba, like baby.
She baby talks because she can't communicate.
Yeah, so that's what. And she yells, of course.
Yes. Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah, and so
babies yell too.
We like see that he's pretending to be an HVAC person, unlocks her window. So you're like, like he's totally gonna like go back and like jump through her window while she's sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
And so then we go back to the house, and it's the house that we know. And so he walks in, and the door opens, and you just hear screaming, and he's bringing down the baby stuff, and that's it. Like, that's the end of his vignette, and you're like,
what's going on? That's when I started thinking my final theory.
Yeah.
That's when I was like, okay, I think I know what this is now. Because it kind of alludes to it a lot. Yeah, then it goes smash cut back into the present.
Yeah, right? And then we see them in the grate, and the mother's trying to feed AJ with this really disgusting bottle. And one thing that I noticed here is like Tess, she is more like calm, and she's like, oh, like, even though this is not a great situation,
this is weird,
and I don't want to be here, just be calm, just drink it. Like, she's a little bit more understanding, where he's immediately like
he's freaking out.
And so you see kind of like how AJ is just like, he's just no sense about him either. He just does things that are good for him.
And you know what? Sorry, that just reminded me of how women react to situations with sexual assault. Some women they're calm. They go silent. They just power through, kind of like what Tess does. While men, if they are denied something, some, not all, will act like AJ would, where lash out, get mad, get freaked out, or anything like that. So the two reactions are very, I believe, gendered. While women, in situations of extreme trauma, some women freak out. But in situations where physical harm could be in question, some women are very calm. They try to stay silent and just power through and maybe leave with mental scars but keep their life. While some men believe they can fight through it.
Yeah.
So I think that's a very gendered response. Well, no offense, some men. Some men think very logically and think in a calm manner when something traumatic is happening. But I think it's a very stereotypical gendered response.
Yeah.
Well, some women might be able to like think fully.
Yeah.
About a situation.
Of course, is just
he's also narcissistic. So maybe I'll say narcissistic men.
And he's just like,
act more like
what is happening? And she's kind of just like, drink, like. And so then the mother grabs him because in her mind she like sees them as babies, and she's just thinking like, oh, he's a fussy eater, like I gotta like
straight from the source.
Yeah, straight from the source. It brings him to the
feeding room.
The feeding room where you see the video, and we kind of can put together like that's what she's like learned is, feed the baby. Like, this is how we feed a baby, breast milk. And so she goes to feed him breast milk, and AJ's like fighting,
freaking out.
And it's like,
which understandably so.
Yeah, but it's like thinking with AJ, like, oh, so you don't like being forced into like, even though breastfeeding isn't sexual, but like you don't like something being forced upon you, do you? Like,
well, you force something upon somebody else. You said that during the movie, and I went, that is so smart. I didn't even think about that. That was a really good connection.
Yeah, he's being forced to do that. It's like, you don't like this forced act upon you, like, and like, she's thinking this is a normal thing for her, Like, she doesn't find this weird.
The baby's being fuzzy, you feed the baby.
Yeah, and so just him, like, still just thinking about himself. And so Tess actually gets out
Gets away.
at this point because he's
a little distracted.
And so she gets out with the help of the man who's yelling at her on the streets.
Yeah, the homeless man.
And he kind of knows, like, the things that have been going on. And he's like, just leave. And Tess has been shown to be, like, a good person, probably too much of a good person, where she's like, no, there's a man in there. And granted, she doesn't know that this man sucks yet. Like, she doesn't know anything about him.
Even so, my narcissism comes out, and I'm like, bitch, leave him.
Yeah, so, like, she goes back, and also the police don't believe her, which kind of sucks, because they're just like, this crazy lady, she's on drugs.
Yeah, and she kept saying, I was kidnapped. Obviously, she looks like she was kidnapped because she has, like, dirt and blood and everything on her.
These damn police.
And the police just wouldn't believe her. They went to the house, they looked, and they're like, the only crime I see is you breaking a window when she was trying to get out.
I wrote about that because I was like, they're kind of, like, in a way, like, gaslighting her.
Yeah.
Like, no, you're just a crazy lady.
100% gaslighting.
Like, you don't know anything. And it's like, as a police officer, shouldn't you want to grant, well, you should, as a police officer.
Hopefully most do, but some don't. But
have the safety in mind of a person who needs your help, and they just, like, write her off. And so then she's on her own.
They're legally supposed to investigate those things, because that's a strong claim.
Yeah.
Of being kidnapped and all that. So technically they should have done that. They did get a call. That was a serious call. But then they should have, like, at least brought her to the police station then to discuss. Because they had a call where it was an active shooter. Yeah. So that's pretty... No offense to kidnapped people. But that active shooter is a more active threat at the moment.
Yeah.
So, but they should have taken her and gotten her to a police station, give her some food, most likely a warm blanket, get some comfort, have a detective talk.
They just don't care.
But they don't give a fuck. They went, bye!
And at this time, AJ is still down there, and he, sees the woman, and so he runs into this room, and she, like, slowly backs away back into the darkness. And you're like, this is interesting. Like, why would she be afraid of that room? And also, AJ takes no notice of this either. Like, when he goes in there, he's like, I'm so sorry she did this to you. It's like, why would she back away scared?
So, one, coolest shot. That was the coolest shot in the whole movie, was her coming in, because she was all in shadows, and you can barely see her, and then going away. Coolest shot, I would say that, for sure. But going into the room, there's a man in there.
Yeah.
You can just... You gotta skip over that. There's a man in the room.
Well, yeah, I was getting there.
Oh, yeah. You just said, I'm so sorry that she did this to you, but you don't know.
Oh, yeah.
There's a man in the bed there, and then he's, like, frantic about it to him.
Yeah, and so, like, she leaves, and also the homeless man said, like, she's not the worst thing in there, like, to Tess when she was, like, helped out by him. And so you're like, what's going on here? And there's just a decrepit old man, and, like, there's trash around him, like, bottles, and he's, like, doesn't talk, and AJ immediately is like, oh my gosh, like, I'm gonna save you, but then he also backtracks. He's like, I'm gonna get out of here, and I'm gonna
get out,
and I'll get you out.
I'll get police, and he's saying all these things, police and everything.
I'm priority first, my guy. Which honestly, in that situation, I guess true, but he backpedaled. He's like, I'm gonna get you out of here. Well, actually, I'm gonna
get out. And it was kind of a funny moment. It was a little funny. I was like, okay, but I think that's when he mentions getting police, helicopter, I'm going to raid this place and everything. And I think that's when the guy motioned to get the gun. Yeah. There's a gun in his drawer. He's getting it. There's tapes with all of these horrible
and
names.
Then he, like, points and, just along is like, oh, you want this in here? And he, like, pushes a tape in, and you see a panning shot of, like, all of these tapes, and we're just like, horrible names. Like
Some have normal names, like
Yeah.
people's names, Sally, Pam.
Yeah.
I don't know if those are actual names. But then like a shit ton of tapes. And there was one like Puke Girl?
Puker.
Oh, Puker.
One's blind, which
Mm-mm.
one is won't stop crying. One is like just screamer, like just awful things.
Bad.
If he didn't know their names, they've just been boiled down to characteristics. Like the one that he puts in is called like gas station redhead, so like doesn't essentially see them like as people, and so you don't see what happens, which is it's a really good like thing that the movie did.
Warning!
Yeah.
This is the big one.
So it's insinuated
big trigger.
By like the tapes and then the room that you've already seen,
and Justin Long's reaction.
He like we see him like it's near the end and all you hear is like yelling and then like what sounds like a hitting noise, like a slapping noise, or like just some awful noise is happening to this woman. And then Justin Long just turns around and like absolute like disgust and horror and is like, "What is wrong with you?" And like it's like such
ironic.
It's so ironic because like we talked about before, he doesn't see what he did as rape because it's not, well, I'm not that guy who's kidnapping women and raping them in like probably in a torturous, well, it's already torturous, but it sounds like he probably was also like
doing bad things. Bad
violence
things.
Is like to the extreme. And so Justin Long is like, "What is wrong with you?" But yet he can't see that in himself because he's like, "Well, I didn't do that, so
I didn't go on that deep of it.
Yeah, I didn't
do anything physical to her.
Yeah, and
I did only mental."
So he's like, I'm getting the cops, and so then the old man shoots himself, and it's the
cowardly way out.
The man from the 80s. So we put that together, like, which we still don't know the full story of what's going on because we learned that through the homeless man. Yeah, I think that guy, he's like our extreme. Like if we're looking at the men on a spectrum, you have like Keith. He's a little bit off-putting, but he does things for the best. Even though he still sees things through gender. Then you have AJ, which also awful, but he like doesn't see himself as awful. But then you have this guy who's like
all the way on the other end.
All the way. So
we have the extremist.
Yeah.
The middle ground. What's the
like the median?
Median. And then we got the you're okay, I guess.
The movie's also not trying to say like, oh, well, AJ's not that guy. They're like trying to make a point of he doesn't need to be that guy to
be awful.
So we get that more of that because
I think he's even I don't think he's worse than the 80s dude, but I think he's along the same like category.
Yeah.
Because of his narcissism. And he's in denial that he did anything wrong. Like if somebody, I don't want to say it's better, but if somebody did something that he did, but was actually remorseful and actually wanted to change his ways, I see that as a better outcome. Like they can get therapy, learn how to empathize with people, and hopefully rehabilitate and become a better person at the end of it. He just, that doesn't even come to his mind.
Yeah.
And I think being like that is probably in the same bubble, but like 80s guy is still all the way over here and he's like at the end of the bubble, but he's still so bad.
Yeah.
Because he won't acknowledge it.
Yeah, and then we have Tess re-enter the picture, and so AJ leaves after this guy blows his brains out, and he accidentally shoots Tess, which this isn't, like, in this case it is an accident because he's just freaked out and he thinks it's probably the mother, so he's just shooting.
Yeah.
Like, and so he shoots her, and luckily he doesn't leave her there because he could have been, like, the most bag of shitbags and been like...
We'll wait until...
at this point in time, he could have, like, went full out.
And he shot her in the side, so it wasn't anywhere super, like, not the head, not the heart.
Yeah.
Nothing, not an artery on the leg, so nothing life-threatening at the moment.
Yeah.
So it was an actual pure accident.
Yeah,
and he seemed bad. Like, he felt bad.
He felt bad, like, in that circumstances. Oh my gosh, like, I'm gonna get you out of here. And he brings her out, and then they go to the homeless man, which, poor homeless man. And,
okay, but how many times is kind of funny?
It is kind of funny. This movie's,
No
like,
offense.
got the comedy in it, because actually the director, he is a comedian. He was in some, like, comic group called Whitest Kids You Know, which I'm not familiar with, but it's apparently, like, a comedy, like, group. So that's why, like, the movie is pretty funny, because he's actually, like, he does comedy. So we get the more info from the homeless man. This is when we get the full picture that the guy from the 80s, he was kidnapping women, of course, recording them on those awful tapes, and then having babies with them, and then having babies with the babies, and just, like,
when the babies were grown.
Yeah.
And were able to have babies.
Yeah.
So, not babies.
It was like copy of a copy of a copy, and you're assuming this has been going on until he was too decrepit, and she was the only one left, because they most likely, I don't know, like, I assume he probably just disposed of some of the women.
I think they probably, my theory is he got rid of sons, either by killing them or getting rid of them somehow. And he only kept the girls. And he might have been selective of who he was. Maybe the names. If he knew the names, maybe those were the women that he impregnated.
Yeah.
And maybe he only did it one at a time. And then it just kept dominoing down.
Yeah.
While the other woman, it was just sadistic.
Yeah, which the mother's the only one left out of this. And so...
hence why she looks the way she is, living underground and also being possibly like 4 times incest or 3 times incest.
Yeah, and she also is such an interesting character because, like, she only knows, like, 2 extremes. She knows, like, probably the nurturing of who her mom is, because he did buy the, like, nursing video to be like, this is how you nurse a baby. So she's seen, like, some kind of affection probably from who her mom was, like, when she was fed, and maybe, like, I don't know, maybe they got fed longer than they were supposed to, or she saw other people having the babies.
Another aspect about feeding, breastfeeding, I believe, is the I don't want to say best way, but, like, the chosen way of bonding with a baby, a mother and a baby. And it's the most, I don't want to say affectionate, because I don't think that's the term, but it's the way that a mother and a child bond the closest is during that moment. And so even if the mother wasn't nurturing, the breastfeeding could have been nurturing to her, and her only. Not her only. That was the only nurturing maybe she got. So when she breastfeeds, she's trying to make a connection to the baby. AKA, she thought AJ was the baby. So she was trying to make a connection. Yeah. But because he was pushing it back so much, that's when she lashed out. Yeah. And the other extreme she feels is...
yeah, she knows only extreme violence from her dad, because...
and grandpa.
Yeah, most likely she's experienced it. She's seen her mom, if she was still around, seeing other women as they come through. Like, she only knows, like, this baby video, so that's, like, all, like, what she's learned is, baby, like, we feed the baby. Like, in the video, of course, like, the mother's, like, really gentle. Well, she's not.
She's gentle.
She's gentle when,
Oh, do you mean the mother or the mom in the video?
The mother.
Mom in the video, she was gentle.
She's gentle unless you, like, upset her, which is when she falls into violence, because I'm sure
she saw that through her dad. When they were crying, he would probably abuse them harder. Yeah. And so when AJ and Tess would be afraid and yelling, or when Keith was yelling and everything, they saw that as defiance, and then she would fall into the follower role, where the follower role would be violence immediately. No reason.
I'm not the psychology major here, but
What up?
Would
That's why I'm here.
it be counted as like she's modeling the behaviors that she's been taught, like modeling the nurturing of the breastfeeding, and these are my babies, and but also modeling the anger and violence of her father.
Mm-hmm. I would say modeling on the father side, because that's all she knows. I wouldn't say modeling on the nurturing side. I would say that's more of an attachment. She's attached to that video.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the only way that she would know how to nurture. So that's how she would create attachments to other people, was nursing, whether it was through the breast or through the bottle.
Yeah.
Because the video didn't show the bottle, it was just breastfeeding. So I think for her, feeding created a connection in her brain of attachment to a baby. So when she would feed AJ with the bottle and he wouldn't do it, then she would feed Tess and Tess was okay with it. She saw AJ then as, oh, he needs more attachment. We need to be more connected. And that's why she defaulted to the breastfeeding.
Mm-hmm.
And then when that didn't work, that's when she started modeling her dad's behavior. Because that's all she knew in that position was if somebody is angry, yelling, crying, you do violence towards them in some way. So I just realized, where did he put all the bodies?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm wondering if maybe because like a lot of the tunnel is shrouded in darkness, maybe there's just another area where
buried in a room.
Yeah, you just
terrifying.
Throw them, they decompose, or maybe like it's, you know, we saw it was dirt. You bury them, so I assume because it seemed like he kind of would stay down there for the most part once he got older. That's probably what he did, and
probably.
Which I am very curious on what her mother was like. Like, I wonder if
he separated them.
Yeah.
Because of those cages.
Yeah.
I bet because of him and what we can gather from his tendencies, I highly doubt he would have mom and baby be connected in some way.
Yeah.
So I bet he separated them. And that was all she knew was that nursing video and feeding. And that was the only affection. Because you don't really see much affection anywhere else except the ending.
Which I think is because she just still sees them as babies, even like if she's not feeding
sees
them.
Tess as a baby.
She's like, oh, it's my baby. Like, I gotta take care of it. That's why I was thinking she has some kind of nurturing, because she's like, we take care of babies, because she does it even outside of feeding, where she's like, I'm gonna take the baby home, take care of it.
Maybe if there was, maybe she saw more videos. Maybe it wasn't just that nursing video. Maybe that nursing video was just used as like a plot thing to kind of insinuate what was going to happen. Maybe she was solely raised on like baby videos of how to raise a baby.
I'm thinking she had some.
In essence, it could also be, if we want to go even deeper, it could be the mother intuition.
Yeah, because she is called the mother.
Yeah, so maybe she was never nurtured as a baby or growing up, and all she knows is that video, nursing video. Maybe in those moments, her mother, people say it's a natural mother instinct. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't, sometimes it's taught, sometimes it's not. So in that moment, maybe she had a natural motherly instinct where she felt like she wanted to protect her. And the only way she knows how to protect is being in that house.
Yeah.
Because she can't go out in the daylight.
And being, like, violent towards, I'm assuming she, like...
And that's her comfort place.
Yeah.
Because that's where she grew up.
Yeah, because I'm wondering, like, well, I guess Keith freaked out, but maybe she also saw Keith as some kind of threat, because... in the beginning, we hear the sucking noise, and she looked at Tess like she came up out of the basement and looked at her. So I wonder if that's when she's like, "Oh, that one's my baby," and like Keith went down there, and she's like, "What the fuck?"
Well, Keith was yelling.
Yeah,
you could hear him yelling for Tess, and because he was yelling, maybe she was trying to be motherly. Then he started freaking out, and so then that's when she then attacked him with violence because he was freaking out. He was running away. he was yelling at Tess, so she just saw him as angry, and that's why she killed him, just like she would with AJ or Tess if they did that.
Yeah. Well, I think with AJ, it was also like he ended up putting her like baby in harm's way, so like I think that was also why she will rip your eyes.
Yeah.
Getting to that part, but the homeless man, going back to him, unfortunately, he tells him everything, and he goes, "She never breaks in here." And then she comes in, rips his arms off, well, his one arm, and beat him to death with his own arm. And oh my god, it was so absurd and funny, though, because, like, imagine somebody tearing your arm off and then using that
beating
to beat you to death.
It's like, oh, that was a little campy, and I loved it a little bit. I felt horrible. I wish it was done to AJ. It was overkill. That would have been nice.
But yeah, so this kind of like brings up we're nearing the end of the movie where they were like, well, she's here now, and so they run off and they find this like water tower, and AJ like literally leaves Tess, like
she can't climb because of a bullet.
She's also stumbling, and he's just like running, like not a care in the world, like bye bitch, I'm leaving.
And she's yelling, wait for me, and he's like, no.
So he gets up to the water tower, and then this dumbass, he like pulls out the gun, and then he like fumbles it and drops it off the water tower, and it's my god.
And we missed a big part when they were talking with the homeless man.
Oh yeah.
AJ was having like this epiphany, being like, maybe I'm a horrible person, maybe I'm a bad guy, and
or a good person who did a bad
thing. So he's like kind of having this little epiphany about himself, seeing himself as bad, seeing himself in this guy a little bit, and reflecting on himself. So you're thinking, oh, maybe he's gonna change. Maybe he's gonna change. Yeah. And then the water tower happens. They're both up there. The mother comes up there. And what does this motherfucker do?
He goes, oh, here's your baby, and then tosses Tess off the water tower. And it's just like, literally 5 seconds ago, you were trying to like reflect on yourself, and you're like, am I a bad person? It's like, these are the moments where you could show that you're a good person. Like, but he only thinks of himself. And so he tosses her. The mother goes, like, running after her. Cause she's like, I gotta protect my baby. Like, the baby went flying. Like, I gotta catch my baby. And against physics, because not possible, but she ends up underneath Tess. Because she's, like, diving. So, like, how did she... Maybe she's... scoop?
Well, from what I think of physics and falling, if somebody falls like this and somebody's diving... This has more, as this, it's laying down. That has more surface, so more air is being, like, doing this, going up and down, and it slows it down a little bit. While if somebody's diving, they're aligned, so there's not as much air to push them back up. And so that's why when you see skydivers, they look like they're floating because they're doing this, but then if they start diving, they look like they're going faster. Mm-hmm. It's because there's not all this air to push you back up. Because when you're like this, all the air under you is pushing up like this. So then when you're straight, you don't have that. So it would make sense, maybe not in that time frame of a water tower. Like if it was like out of a plane, yeah, that could probably happen. Because that's what happens in Black Widow. In the end, when fucking Blondie, what's her name? Yelena is falling, and that's how Natasha can get to her in time because she's diving while she's falling flat. But anyways,
Mother is able to scoop underneath and like break Tessa's fall, and then AJ comes running down because he thinks that
he gaslights the fuck out of her.
Yeah, he thinks that the mother is dead, and he's like, "Oh my gosh!" Like. Well, first
I have it. I have the actual quote. You didn't get pushed. You slipped.
Well, before that, he's like, I had to. Like, she was gonna come after us, and like, and there's nothing I could do. And then he goes, well, I didn't push you, but you
slipped.
You slipped, and like, I'm gonna get you help. And it's like,
gaslighting
you
her.
Just trapped her off, and you're also expecting her to realize, like, she saw you tug her off. Like, she wasn't, like, unconscious. She knows it was you because you literally grabbed her and threw her.
And you didn't push her.
Yeah.
You literally took her and threw her.
Checked her. So, of course, like, he's gaslighting to the extent where it's like
you're just that awful. Like,
Yeah.
get out of here. There's
So-
no chances I can give for you anymore.
Yeah, you really are a changed man. Like, and so the mother we find out is still alive. She takes her nails and gouges them into his eyes, and his eyes come out like pudding.
Ew, not pudding. I can never look at pudding again. I can only eat chocolate now.
Yeah, chocolate pudding.
Oh,
That's pudding. Sorry for
you
that.
remind me of
Gross.
tapioca pudding. Ew.
Sorry for that gross visual, but and then rips his
Ew.
head apart, like,
Which you don't see.
yeah, into, like, you just see, like, darkness, but you know what's happening.
You can see his like head move.
Yeah, and then
It's from the back.
Tess has the gun, and, like, the mother's like, oh, like, she motions to the house because of course she doesn't speak. She's like, you know, we're going back home now, and Tess is like, I can't go back there, and of course she doesn't understand this communication. So Tess pulls out the gun, and the mother doesn't flinch because she doesn't know what a gun is. She's just like, oh, like, Baba, and then like, boops the nose, which is in the video, and Tess just like, I can't, and it's such a sad moment because in reality, like, the movie's called Barbarian, and you think it's her, but, like, her circumstances, like, none of that was her fault. Even though, like, you know, killing people is not okay, but also she
doesn't know.
Yeah, she doesn't know. She was never, like, in society. She was never taught, like, right from wrong.
She was taught right from wrong, but she was taught the flip way.
Yeah.
It's okay to beat people.
Yeah.
And she probably witnessed murder from
so
her dad.
She knows only violence, and she knows baby. So, like, she's such a sympathetic character. So, like, the name Barbarian, like, I think that's more referring to her father, but also
AJ.
Justin Long's character. Like,
I wrote that down. It's
they're
AJ.
true barbarians. The barbarian isn't the mother, even though she, like, the scariest things revolve around her, like, the scariest moments. But that's before you end up finding what happened about her. So, like, in that setup, she is scary because you're like, I don't know what's going on. Like, she killed Keith. Like, that's pretty upsetting. That was an upsetting death to see. But then you find out her backstory, and it's, like, so tragic. And so Tess shoots her, and the movie ends, and Tess hobbles off, and that's it. We don't know what happens to Tess, but that's okay. She made it out alive. And
see, I see the ending in a different way than you do. Like, she doesn't want to go back, and that's why she kills her. I think she killed her because of mercy. I think she feels bad for the mother. Obviously, I also think, like, she doesn't want to go back. But I think she feels honestly bad for her. Because when she's about to shoot her, you can tell that she feels bad while doing it.
Yeah.
Obviously, because you're killing another human being, and they might not fully look like a human being like her. But she knows it's a human being, and she obviously feels bad about doing it. But at the same time, one, she probably doesn't want this happening to other people. Two, she doesn't want to go back. And three, she doesn't want her to live this life and live with this pain and everything. So I think it was a bit of a mercy killing. In my eyes, I think it's a mercy killing. Because you could tell. And also, I think because of how you said she was calm, mother was calm because she didn't understand guns. I think she was calm because she wanted to die. Because when you think about it, the guy had a gun, the dad had a gun, so he probably used the gun. So she probably knows what the gun is, and maybe that's why she doesn't also go in there, because one, he's old, so he can't do anything, but maybe she knows that he has a gun and he could kill her. So maybe she does know what it is, and I think she was calm in that moment, and she was doing the boop as maybe a goodbye. To kind of like
thought she was
that.
like, no, we're going back, because that's what it seemed like.
She was like, let's go back. But when she brings out the gun, she doesn't do anything.
Yeah. Well,
she doesn't push her away, doesn't get angry, doesn't do anything.
To me, it seemed like she didn't understand because she was just like, Baba, like, and was like motioning, like, let's go back. So I don't think she understood, like,
I thought she wasn't motioning when the gun came out.
But she was still like
holding it
Baba
out.
and like holding the baby, being like, I don't understand, like, you're my baby, like, I, like, why won't you come with me? I think that's what I thought she was thinking at the moment. It's just, I take care of the baby, like, I don't understand, like, we're gonna go back. And so the gun gets pulled out and she just is like, but baby, like, so I don't know if she wanted to die, because I don't know if she can actually really, like, in that moment, I think she's more thinking of, like, I gotta protect my baby rather than thinking of herself in that way. I think she's more like, baby, take care of baby. At least that's how I saw it, and why I thought Tess was like, yeah, I think it could be like a mercy killing, but she's also like, I'm sorry, I can't go back there. So she thought the only way that I'm gonna be able to get out of this is kill you, or you're gonna take me back, and I can't live like that. And so she like shoots her because that's the only way.
Well, I think it's also that too, but I think also with her hesitancy, because she holds it for a little bit.
Oh yeah, I definitely think
I think maybe she was like, well, I don't want to kill this person, but also, to save myself, I should. But maybe deep down, she was probably also thinking, I don't want this to happen to other people too. So it could be also not only mercy killing for Mother, but mercy killing for everyone else who could fall into this trap.
Yeah, which I wrote, like, I definitely think that Tess, like, she has the most compassion for the woman. Like, she both has a drive to survive, but I think how she also was able to survive is she kind of understood her, like, oh, she thinks of me as her baby, like, I can understand that. And so she's the only one in the movie that got to really, like, show compassion and understanding, which, like, Keith is excluded from that because he has no fucking idea what's going on.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't even get a chance.
Yeah.
Like, no. He's just going to see a scary woman that bit his leg and be like, what the fuck? And of course, like, that's an honest, like, that would be kind of scary. But she has the most compassion for the mother. And I think it also goes back to, like, the gender view on things. Like, she can understand the mother, even though she's not going to go back with her. She can have the compassion and understanding for her and the situation that happened to her that she learned, and being like, well, she, like, I can understand her. I'm not going back with her. But, like, I think she does have sympathy for her, and probably also was like, I'm just going to, like, end her life, and also I can still survive, but I can still understand.
Yeah.
But Sam, poor the mother, like, she
had no chance.
Yeah, and she just, like, wanted to be a mother. And I don't know if she ever was a mother, which is awful in that circumstance.
Maybe she did have a child and they possibly died.
Yeah. So
you did say maybe they did. There was a lot of babies, but then possibly died because of being in a dirty under basement, being in these tunnels, probably not getting adequate medication. Yeah. So probably died from those things too.
I think he did allow the mother and the babies to have some kind of connection, because I think that's why he bought the breastfeeding tape, to be like, okay, like, you're stuck down here with me forever, you have to feed the baby, like, and so I'm wondering if she does have some kind of memory of being like, oh, like, mom used to breastfeed me, or if she did have a baby, so then she also
probably actually
learns that connection between, like,
maybe that was the only connection they could have was the breastfeeding, but then they were separate.
Which I think with the breastfeeding, like you said, maybe that is like a comfort for her, so she, like, sees motherhood as a comfort, like, oh, my mom fed me and nourished me, and we had this
that was the
connection.
only positive thing she had.
Yeah, so that's why she is pretty, like, sympathetic towards Tess, because Tess understood her, but also she's like, this is my baby, I view her as my baby, where I think eventually she did learn Justin Long's character, like, I don't think that one's my baby.
Yeah, that one is not my baby.
Yeah, so, Yeah, I find it really sad
Mhm.
because she didn't ask for that. Neither did any of those women, nor who Justin Long's character. I was saying, like, such a viewpoint on how women.
And this was directed by a man?
It
Good
was.
man.
Yeah, I think he read a book about like women's fear, and that made him think of a scene, and so he was trying to see the movie not as like being like, I know for sure this is how women feel, but trying to show how what the men are thinking is so different than
Women.
what Tess is thinking. I don't think he's trying to be like, I know what the women think and I am the all-knowing man. I think he's more just like showing the dichotomy between them. And I think his wife also did help with the movie. So
probably.
I think she probably got input from her too.
Are you ready to see if he's truly has narcissistic personality disorder?
Yes, that's true.
Okay. Here's the diagnostic criteria from the DSM-5. Yes, I have a DSM-5 straight in front of me. I'm a psych major. Okay. So diagnostic criteria. A pervasive pattern of grandiosity, parentheses, and fantasy or behavior, comma, need for admiration, comma, and lack of empathy, beginning by early adulthood and present in a variety of contexts as indicated by 5 or more of the following. So we needed to see if he has 5 or more, then he's possibly narcissistic personality. We cannot diagnose.
He's a character. I feel like we can kind of diagnose him. He's not real.
His character is not real.
We're not going to affect his life by doing this.
Yes.
He's dead.
Okay, the first one has a grandiose sense of self-importance. Examples: exaggerates achievements and talents, expects to be recognized as superior without, I cannot say that word, commensurate achievements. So do you think he has a grandiose sense of self-importance?
Oh, definitely. Especially with the, I'm just persistent. Like, I'm really just that guy. Like, I just go for things I want. Like,
and he thinks he's entitled to keep his job.
Yeah.
Even though he has this very serious accusation.
And he says, what? I'm the one who, like, brought her on. And also, I'm the one who, like, greenlit the pilot or something. Like, the pilot existed because of him.
Yeah. 2 is preoccupied with fantasies of unlimited success, power, brilliance, beauty, or ideal love. I don't think he's really shown, maybe unlimited power.
Yeah.
But he didn't show that much in this.
Yeah. I don't think that one, because I also do see him as a little bit more, in that one specifically, he's just more, like, naive to things, where he's just, like...
Or he just doesn't care.
Yeah, he doesn't
even
he's like,
think about it.
Nonchalant about it.
Believes that he or she is special, quotations, and unique and can only be understood by or should associate with other special or high status people or institutions.
I guess he does, like, not, like, we've never seen an institution because this movie's pretty scarce on the amount of people I see, but I think he does see himself, like, above her, like, oh, I'm the actor who did the pilot, like, I did this, and, like, I am sorry that you did this to me, like, we'll do half a point. Wait, hold on. Do tick marks so we can remember. So 1 and then half of 1.
There you go. A tiny little tick. Requires excessive admiration. I think he just thinks he's always right.
Yeah.
So maybe not a matter of admiration.
Which we do only see him within, like, a small amount of context. So, like, we don't know, like, other parts of who he is. Like, we don't know what he was like as an actor. Like, we only see him in certain situations.
Yeah.
So he could be these things hypothetically, even though he's a character. Yeah. He has no other things he was doing. Because that's a movie. But
well, it's okay because we have one that he definitely is. has a sense of entitlement. Example is unreasonable expectations of especially favorable treatment or automatic compliance with his or her expectations.
Yeah.
Give him a big fat one for that one. Yep, now you have to do that. We'll add, just cross that one out, and well, don't cross that one out.
Touched it. It's gonna bleed.
Okay, 6 is interpersonally exploitative. Examples: takes advantage of others to achieve his or her own ends. Big fat one for that one. 7 lacks empathy, is unwilling to recognize or identify with the feelings and needs of others.
Yeah.
Give me another one. 8 is often envious of others or believes that others are envious of him or her. When he was complaining in the car, didn't he say like something like not jealous or something like that, but like being kind of like that? No, he didn't mention anything. Being like,
I think
she got with me, and now she's just upset that we did it.
I think he didn't really say anything about it because we don't even find out that they slept together until the bar scene.
Oh.
So I think he's like, what? What did she say about me that I did this thing? Like, he's like perplexed, even though he knows.
Yeah. Well, it's okay because 9 is 100% yes. Shows arrogant, haughty behaviors or attitudes. He threw a fucking girl off a water tank, thinking he could live.
My
He
self-preservation.
Did you?
I can't because.
You didn't. What? You didn't. I can't because it's 5. You do a crossover with 5.
This one wasn't a part of it.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we're going to give him 6. So he is definitely
What was
in
the
narcissist.
6th one?
The half one. We're just going to give that one to him.
Yeah.
We'll just give that to him. So he has 6. So
it's very interesting that was the psychology part because I thought you like with this movie you would talk about like, well, I guess you don't like. Didn't you say you don't like developmental psychology?
Well, I mean, we did talk about developmental.
Yeah.
Modeling is developmental theory.
Yeah, I
That's
thought
Bandura.
Like my brain was like, she's gonna get so in about like her not having socialization. And
I mean, there's no. The issue is, I mean, the theories that don't have socialization are biological theories.
Mhm.
And biological theories are about attachment, and I talked about attachment with the nursing and everything. And then modeling is Bandura, which is also biological. You can't really apply environmental because she didn't really have environments. Environmental basically means socialization.
Yeah.
You learn through other people.
She had a lack of that.
So that wouldn't apply to her and her issues with development.
Isn't the lack of having an environment make it so she wasn't able to learn language as well because no one's speaking to her? So
Yeah,
she wasn't,
but that's not it's not a like theory that we learned about. Like having a lack of will not give you. I mean, like technically, there's I can't remember the theory name, but there is a theory that talks about speech and culture, and that's how you learn. It's a PEI, person environmental influences, I believe, which is a mixture of biological and because we learned biological, then we learned environmental, and then biological environmental mixtures. And in that one, speech is it's so the act of speech is an environmental thing because it's culture. So the way we speak to each other is not the same way people speak to each other in Korea because there's formal and informal. We don't really have formal and informal as a degree as they do. So that's cultural, but wanting to communicate with people is biological because like that's how people communicate or that's how people survive in packs is communicating. But because she didn't have a pack, there was no reason to have communication in that way. I mean, she had some communication or she tried to. So that's like she had the biological, like she could, she should, but she didn't have the cultural aspect of it. So that can show issues. Chaos. There's another theory that deals with chaos. Can't remember the name of it. But how people react to chaotic situations, usually with chaotic households, which she experienced, mother, because of dad and possibly not being close to mom and only getting nurtured through breastfeeding or feeding in general. So showing that chaotic could also impact the issue with the developmental, and why I don't like developmental psychology. Not only is it with children and older people, but it's because I don't like children or older people. But the issue with developmental psychology, there's not one that fits all. And then there's an issue of trying to create a unified developmental theory, because then it can't possibly be, it would be too broad, because you have to also attribute, can we apply it to different cultures? Then we would have to make it broader, because a different culture might do a different way. So that would have to be broader. So there's issues with the unified version. So there's so many types of developmental theories. The bigger ones are the ones that I learned. And the issue is, how I see it, you can't just have biological because you're ignoring all of the societal parts of learning and experiencing. You can't just do environmental because you're totally ignoring the biological. But then when you go into the biological environmental ones, they're either way too broad, they're way too specific, there's patches, some go by stages, which some developmental psychologists believe that development isn't through stages, but through zones. Some people say it's not through zones, it's through the personal development. So developmental psychology is definitely a needed thing. It's complicated. There's a lot of gray areas. There's a lot of people who support one, the other, the both, but then there's issues with both. So that's why I really don't like, that's why I like biological psychology, because biological is a lot more facts about the brain, like hormones and neurotransmitters. There's a lot more facts in it. With developmental, it's all theory, because one might be correct for one kid, but another one might be correct for another kid. So with mother, there's so many things that could, biologically, she's incest, so she comes from incest, so she could have a lot of biological issues with her brain. Maybe her amygdala isn't functioning correctly, and maybe it's enlarged because that's why she goes to anger really easily. There might be developmental issue or biological issues with her prefrontal cortex or her frontal cortex, because she can't problem solve, because she exists at an instinctual level. So at an instinctual level, there's no development, because you don't really know the things that a child should know or have experience in, or even just be exposed to, because there's children who are very when I say antisocial, I don't mean like antisocial, like personality, like that kind, just people who are not able to make social connections, whether it's through another disorder or whether it's just their personality, if they're more introverted. There's a lot of people who have those kind of issues. I'm going on a huge tyrant, but they're exposed to social relationships, so they know how it works. They just have it a little bit harder because of her. She has no experience with friendship, has no experience with love, really, except through breastfeeding or just feeding in general. So it's hard to just say she's this developmental theory, because it could be all the theories, but there's issues with along the way, because there's social role theory. She has issues with social roles because she doesn't have a role except mother, but her role is skewed and she doesn't really have any other type of role. Like, for example, if I have a child, I'm a mother, I'm a worker, I'm a sister, I'm a friend. So I have a lot of different social roles. Well, the only one she has is mother. So she could be overworking it and having role, what is that term? Role overload, I think is what it's called, or something along the lines, where because that's her only role, she might be overdoing it. So she needs other roles to deal with. So, like, you can apply any theory, any developmental theory to a case, but there's always going to be issues with just applying that one theory. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the time people just do integrated. Mm-hmm. So they bring in multiple ones. Like, for example, this biological theory explains a lot more, but then this environmental theory makes sense. Or this PEI theory makes a lot of sense, but we need more biology into it. So let's bring in this theory. So a lot of people do integrated when they do developmental.
Which we don't have her full upbringing. That's why I was like really interested. I was like, how was her mother? Like, was she in kind of the same kind of like incest? Like, how like far into the incest
tree
is she in? And,
yeah.
Like,
well, she would be from what I know about features of incestual children, she would maybe be possibly, also we don't know age, so that kind of screws it up. She could be third or fourth because or even second.
Almost guy said she's been there for 40 years.
Just the woman?
The woman, yeah.
Or, well, yeah, it could have been her for 40 years. But what if it was her mother?
Yeah.
But he didn't know it was the mother. Well, hold on. The mother of the mother.
Yeah.
It could have been her, and then when she died, it turned into her, and so he thinks it's 40 years, but it's really the same woman who looks similar. So she could be second. I've heard, I think she's third generation incestual, because first was a woman kidnapped, then incestual baby, then second, and then maybe her, or maybe she's second, because from what I know about physical development of incestual babies, it could be the first incest. Most likely it's the second time it happens. Then that's when you get the physical malformations, like her protruding forehead. Her hair is explained, skin is explained, but with the physical on the head, I would say she's second. So dad, woman had a baby, dad incest first baby, then it was her. Mm-hmm. I would think maybe, unless it could be also a first, but most of the time it's second, where they start getting physical. And also on top of that, I want to know her medical history. I want to know, because a lot of times incestual kids have a lot of gene malformations which result in the physical, but they also have issues. They have physical malformations, or they also have gene malformations that cause diseases. So that's why it's illegal, but also it's
morally and ethically also.
Here's the thing. People always say morally and ethically. Here's the thing. You wouldn't say this, but people preach the Bible. They were fucking their cousins and brothers and sisters and all that jazz. I mean, technically we're all incest babies if you believe in even Adam. Because they were probably fucking their children to make more.
Yeah, that was always
so I mean, like, ethically, if you're Christian, it's a gray area, but ethically and morally, on a normal level, with no religion, awful. Yeah. But if you love them, yeehaw, go to Tennessee. They fuck their cousins there.
Alabama.
Oh, that too. No, also Tennessee. We'll throw them all
Tennessee is like no one ever talks about Tennessee. It's like Alabama, Kentucky. But
Alabama, Kentucky. I say Tennessee. Tennessee. I've been there.
I just think of Nashville and I'm like, music.
Yeah, they get drunk and they kiss their cousins. But also Alabama. Oh, is that your finger?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. She stabbed me.
Yeah, small aside because we're getting kind of far into this. But the director said that he modeled her off of feral children, so that's like where he modeled. Not saying that she he wasn't saying this is feral child. Yeah. He just looked at the behaviors to like kind of model.
I wonder because that makes sense because feral children are based on their instincts. But the thing is, feral children also have developmental theories applied to them, mostly biological. They do modeling. So, like, well, when I'm thinking of, Hold on, let me think. Make sure of feral children. I'm thinking, is it children that are like, let's pretend we have a box and we put the child in the box and it grows while they grow so they can stay in the box. But it's a magic box. And they say, is that a feral child? No interactions, nothing. Or is also a feral child raised by wildlife? Because I thought feral children were raised by like tigers
I
or
thought
panthers, like a Jungle Book.
a feral child is like, I think some circumstances that occur would be like if they had a parent, but then their parent just like locked them in a basement and like never talked to them. Like they never had left the basement until they were like rescued. Like they have had no interaction outside of what they know, but also kids who've been in the wilderness, from what I'm understanding.
I got the feral child definition. This is from Google. This is from Wikipedia, so you know you can trust it. A feral child is a young individual who has lived isolated from human contact from a very young age with little to no experience of human care, social behavior, or language. The term is used to refer to children who have suffered severe abuse or trauma before being abandoned or running away. So yes, she would be considered a feral child turned feral.
Yeah.
But I also like the idea of being raised by
Wolves.
That would also be a feral child because then they would have no. Tarzan would be a feral child.
He's like,
I was thinking Jungle Book. Mowgli. Is that his name? Mowgli. Mowgli would be considered a feral child because but also that's a Disney show, so he can communicate with everyone, which would not be true.
Tarzan has a little bit of a struggle communicating.
Yeah, and he has to be taught.
Yeah.
Which
Tarzan is a feral child.
Yeah.
Raised by gorillas.
Yeah, he would be considered feral then, feral child. So now that I know the actual, I mean, if you were raised by animals, you would model them. So technically, that is developmental.
Tarzan.
He modeled.
We should watch
them. Not tonight. It is 9. It's almost 10.
That will be our discussion on feral children. We'll watch Tarzan. Just kidding.
And I could go into more developmental psychology because apparently you really want. Next semester, I'm doing statistical. So if we can find a movie on statistics, I can give you some psychology statistics. I can give you some information on that. Ding, ding. What were we going to do at the end of the movie? Oh, one thing we liked and one thing we didn't like. Okay.
I was like, did we do that last week? But I forgot we
didn't watch a movie.
Jinx.
No.
You want me more wine? I'm just kidding.
You have the wine bottle. Do you want to go first about what you like and what you don't like? I didn't write these down. I should have thought about this.
What I like is just the overall theme that the movie is trying to tell and how it dealt with the theme in a very respectful way, coming from a male director.
Mm-hmm. What I liked was say about the same thing, like having the different perspectives on gendered thoughts and reactions and feelings and everything. So I think that was the best part. And also, I hate to say it, Justin Long's comedic parts, those are really good.
Yeah,
I don't like his character, but his comedic parts were like a good pause of hating the character. I don't like him. I didn't like him in those moments, but it gave me a little breath of this guy's a shitty person, but I can breathe right now.
Yeah.
Through what he's doing.
You get that release of this is I can laugh at him. And also another reason to not like him, but be I can laugh at him. Another reason to be against him.
Yeah.
Being you're
stupid.
You're so stupid that I'm laughing at you.
Yeah. Something you didn't like. Or you wish could be better. What was it? We did strength and limitations.
Yeah. I think the limitation is this is just me, but I would like to know more of the backstory, not the gruesome details. But I just am really curious on her backstory and how she lived, because this movie has a lot of plot holes that aren't needed for the overall like movie because you can be like, oh yeah, like he kidnaps women, but there are a lot of questions like, how did these women like
Live. Yeah.
Also, how was he never caught because the police, when they noticed that a bunch of women keep going missing, and so
Yeah.
just
Well, the police obviously don't care.
yeah. So I'm just curious. Like, I wish I could learn more about.
I want to know why everyone was moving and the neighbor was like, "This place is going to hell."
That's Reaganomics. So I'm not a politician. I don't know shit about politics. But from the Dead Meat podcast, always shout out the Dead Meat podcast because it's set in Detroit, which is their hometown. They said the money got taken away from the city because they didn't see investment in the city anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So people started moving to suburban areas, and so like it wasn't really going to shit. It was more like, if we stay here too long, these houses aren't going to be profitable anymore, and we're going to be stuck here.
Gotcha.
So we got to move to the suburbs. Is the Cliff Notes?
Gotcha.
I don't know how Reaganomics, but I think
There's a person.
Reagan
That's-
fucked a lot of financial stuff up, but I don't
Gotcha.
know. I don't know shit about presidents.
Especially back when we weren't alive.
History. I mean, that's not my strong suit.
So that was your limitation?
Yeah, I want to know more about the one.
You're going to hate my limitation. You're not going to hate it.
Less about the...
No, I would say limitation, my biggest pet peeve. This is a personal preference. My pet peeve is the all-knower.
Oh,
somebody who knows everything somehow. I hate it when people do. I know it's a plot thing just to get the plot out there.
He was exposition guy.
Yeah, I don't like exposition guys or anyone in movies. I don't like it because my biggest thing is he was a creative director. This is nothing towards him being non-creative. I believe a really, really good director doesn't have one because they can show it. They can just show it in some way. Showing it. And this is not a knock to the director. He's really good. I really like the movie. Big pet peeve. I don't like that one guy, for some reason, knows everything. Especially if even the biggest thing is when it's somebody that is less fortunate.
Mm-hmm.
Or like somebody who's like, oh my God, what, the Vampire Diaries. The fucking witch that just knew everything. And I was like, what?
A trope which we won't get into because it's a very long discussion and I don't have
the time.
We don't have the time, but it's the magical, like, all-knowing black person, which I did see pop up with the homeless man, but I don't have the time nor the research to...
We'll do that in a whole other episode.
That's a subject that is very,
Should we do just, like, tropes?
Yeah.
That we want to get rid of?
And he kind of was that. And
yeah. He was a black homeless man. And...
Well, he wasn't magical, but he
wasn't magical, but he was all-knowing for some reason. He was all-knowing. And so, and that's a huge trope, and a lot of people are, like, getting sick of it.
Yeah.
Especially because I hear it all the time with, not to knock your favorite show, The Vampire Diaries, because Bonnie and then her aunt? Was it aunt? Grandma?
Her grandma.
Grandma?
Her grandma, she's not very helpful.
Yeah, but, like, they're seen as a mouthpiece.
Oh, yeah. Bonnie is who they all go to, and she solves every issue that they could ever have, and so that's why you have to come up with reasons why Bonnie can't help them.
Mm-hmm.
Because with her, their problems are usually solved. And that's why Bonnie also doesn't get to live a life. This isn't a Vampire Diaries podcast, but I have a lot of thoughts about Bonnie, so, like, somebody, like...
We can put that in the episode that we talked about,
somebody
that trope.
message me to talk about the Vampire Diaries, I'm totally there.
Oh my God. But yeah, so that was my biggest pet peeve. Yeah. Personally, I just don't like it. It is just show it. Just show it. Don't tell me it. And then you kind of get that background in it, like how they were living and everything. Or while he was talking, I don't understand why they didn't show it while he was explaining, because I didn't need to see him talking about it. Yeah. It would have been 10 times more impactful if we actually saw it while he was speaking about it.
Or leave it more ambiguous and have us come up with our own sense of what's going on, because I think you can kind of piece it together.
I pieced it the moment AJ went into the room.
We don't need an exposition guy other than the fact that I guess his part also allows the main characters to know what's going on, and that is kind of needed, at least for Tesses. Not really AJ, well, other than his epiphany. But like,
which did play a part because you're like you're changing, and then he's not. So you tell that was an empty.
Yeah. So he kind of works, I guess, in that way, as being like, here's the story, and Tess can like see more sympathy in it, and AJ's just
how I can see that changing though is if maybe they had like he had like a chart, and then it had like their names going down, and then her name, and it's just mother on there. Maybe then you can really piece it like, okay, this is incestual. But then in that moment when he's talking to the guy, being like, you're so messed up, having that epiphany there, because then when he leaves and he shoots her and he's really, really sad, I'm going to get you out of here. You're like, okay, he's actually really changing. And then that water tower is just 10 times more impactful because you're like, you were just good a minute ago. You were just there. So maybe doing something like that. We should just write movies.
Yeah.
Let's just write a movie.
But I do want that to be a part of my blog, because I want to fix Halloween Ends so badly.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You need to start up that blog. When are you planning on doing that? We'll make an announcement. So if you guys want to read it, we'll just put it into the description. But I think we're done. It's 10 p.m.
Yeah. I gotta go to bed.
Oh, yeah. You gotta go work early. Gross. Yeah. Well, that was our huge take on Barbarian. It is 2.5 hours long.
Sorry, everyone.
Not editing. But, yeah. Well, we'll do our sign off then. After she yawns.
Oh my gosh. Don't be an Edward.
Go watch Friends, the TV show, not your actual friends. Cut.